All right, welcome to Reel Outdoors. Today, Captain Roundtable, we're going to spool up a lead core reel, and we're going to show you the whole process in doing that. The way I'm going to do it is called back spooling. So I will load backwards a brand new CV45. This is the LS, the high-speed version, and then I will fill this entire spool up to the edge of the spool, and then I will back feed it onto this. I'm going to use a line machine for this. You don't have to. You could do it all by hand just to speed up the process. I'm going to use a line machine. I know everybody doesn't have a line machine, but this process will work the other way, is reeling by hand as well. But before we get there, we got to thank our sponsors for this episode, Captain Chuck's 2 here in Ludington for helping us out with this one, and also Ludington Beverage and Bud Light for sponsoring the episode. If you haven't been to Captain Chuck's website yet, or recently, you need to go on there. They have a new reel builder right on the website. You can order the reel you want with the backer you want, the amount of backer, the type of backer, all of that kind of stuff. And they will set up one of these 7 colors for you and ship it right to your house. And you can pay for it right on the website and put your order in. So, great time to do that as well, because the season only starts to get busier, especially for building reels. All right, so let's get started here. First off, everything I'm using, I'll have links in the description, and you can go check those products out. While you're down in the description part, make sure you hit that subscribe and the like button. First off, we have 25-pound, and this is a new product from Suffolk. It's called Advanced Fluorocarbon. Awesome leader material. This is what we're using for leaders now. I can't say enough about it. Awesome, abrasion resistant, very strong. We're using 25-pound, so we're going to put 50 feet. So I'm going to wind 50 feet of this leader material on, and then we'll go to step 2. All right, so we're going to tie this on. We're going to use tie to the spool. We're going to go around the spool twice. Make sure you're through your level wind. And then we are going to tie a uni knot. If you don't know a uni knot, check in the description, and I have a link to a video on how I tie the uni knot. Great knot, very versatile. I use it all the time on the boat. So, all right, gonna crank the drag all the way down, lock it right down so that you're not wearing the drag out as you're spooling up. And we're going to put 50 feet on here real quick. Now, I like to do this with scissors. This will make your life much easier if you use scissors. If you're using pliers, it pinches and it puts a little burr onto your line. Now, very important when you're at this step that you do not allow the line to go inside the line guide and get out of time. So I always just have it pinched off somehow so that it cannot get in there. So we're going to switch over. We're going to put our braid on. We're going to put 70 yards or 7 colors. For braid, we're using performance braid or performance lead core from Suffolk. The only lead core that we use on the boat as well. Been very satisfied with the Suffolk products. All right, so we're ready to make our connection. The way that we make this connection from mono to lead core, I'm going to use a Willis knot. I'll show you how to do that in the link in the descriptions. So I'm just going to do it for you. When I was first introduced to that knot, I was like, could not believe that works. But it does work, and it works great. That's the main knot that we use. You can also tie a uni knot. You just got to remove a little bit more of the braid, or of the lead core out of the braid. All right, so we're going to put 70 yards on. Every color is 10 yards, so we're going to put 7 colors onto this reel. Now, we're going to fill the back of the spool, and we want to fill it up all the way to the machining where the taper starts on the spool. So I'll show you that on the GoPro here. You can see that taper. right there. And what we're going to do is fill it till we have maybe just like an 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch away from that. That'll give you enough clearance for your guide to not hit on your spool of line. All right, so we have our lead core on our reel. Next step is we're going to put on our backer, the immediate backer anyways, like the backer right behind the lead core. So for that, I use braid. There's a couple of different reasons. Reel capacity is definitely one of them. I want to have a lot of line. The fish are only getting bigger here, especially in Lake Michigan. And, you know, I think you got to have at least a couple hundred yards of backer on a lead core reel. We use Dreamweaver Ninja boards, so I don't put anything. I clip that Ninja board right to the braid. There's a video on that. I'll put a link in the description as well on the Ninja board and how to do the braid termination. If you're using like a church tackle board or an offshore board, depending on what kind of releases you're using, you might want to have a piece of mono in here. That's the way that I used to do it when I used church tackle boards. What I would do, what I recommend, is that you put 10 feet of 40-pound mono in there. I like to use 40-pound because it doesn't have any purpose other than for the board to hang on to. The boards grab 40-pound very well, and 40 pounds really strong and a lot thicker than it needs to be, so it takes a lot of wear and tear. You do have to change that piece of line out. We would change it out anytime that it would be nicked up, and we're always checking that. So I'm going to do this with the mindset that I am going to use Ninja boards on it, and I don't have to worry about having that piece of mono in there. So, got my 832. This is the moss green 832. You can also use the high vis. It does make it a little bit easier to see. One nice thing with braid as well is it cuts through the air better. So the distance from your rod tip to your planer board going through the air, you get less of a bow when you use braid. And it makes it a lot easier, especially if you're running 4 or 5 boards aside, which is kind of our normal trend. So to make this connection, what I'm going to use is a uni to uni knot. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to take about probably about 5 inches of lead core out of the inside of the lead core. So I'm going to, the lead in the core itself, we're going to pull that out. So now we basically essentially have a piece of braid. Now we're going to take our 50-pound 832 and we're going to tie a uni to uni knot here, and I'm going to do 5 wraps. With braid you don't need to do as many wraps, it doesn't seem like, but you do need to add lubrication, so water or whatever's handy. And then we're going to repeat the process on this side with the lead core. So we'll tie our uni knot, 5 wraps, water or some sort of lubrication. There's your knot. Very, very strong. Easy to tie, a lot easier to tie than a blood knot, at least in my opinion. We're going to trim this off with our knife or with a sharp pair of scissors, either one. I like to leave just a little bit of a tag on both sides, not too much. Trim that up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to put 200 yards of 50-pound 832 on here, braid. All right, there's our 200 yards. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill the back of the spool, and we're going to make sure that we don't accidentally reel our reel in there. We're going to fill the back of the spool to the edge of the machining, still allowing to have a little bit of clearance for your level line to go across. You don't want that to hit your knot or be hitting on anything. For that, we're going to use Suffolk Superior 30 pound. That's just generally kind of my all-purpose line that I have on the boat. You could use 20 pound, you just have to use more. You could use 40 or 50 pound if you wanted. I think the 30 pound works great. With 200 yards of backer, very rarely that you're ever going to get into this backer. This is really just to fill space on your reel, and what it's going to do is it's going to fill space on that reel. It's going to make the drag work better. It's going to make you retrieve more line per wind on your reel. Same thing, uni knot. Go to the description if you need to know how to do it. Just going to tie a quick one. A little bit of water lubrication there. Check it. It's nice and tight. Satisfied. I'm going to trim this so that we don't have too much line on there, but that we have. And then we're just going to fill that spool up until we are satisfied that we don't have too much line on there, but then we have as much as we can fit. There we go, we're good. Show you here in a second. I'm going to hang on to that line so it doesn't get inside the reel and the reel gets out of time. It's always a pain. If you can look here, you can see just about full on that side. And on our line, our level wind, we have good clearance still. You can see that in there. Perfect. All right, we're ready to go. We're going to switch this over and transfer this now to the other reel. Now this line will be against the spool, and you'll have your next reel will be all ready to go. We're going to use exactly the same size reel, and if you do that, you don't have to measure all of the line out. That was 140 yards is what it took to fill that spool the rest of the way. Now if you're using different lines, even if you're using 50 pound braid and 40 pound mono or 30 pound mono or 25 or whatever, if you match up, if you're not using exactly the same line, the line diameters are a little bit different, so that will play into how much will fit on your spool. So one word of advice is write down all of your calculations that you're using, and then next time you have to set up, even if you're setting up a 10 color or an 8 or a 9 or whatever you're doing, a 5, you'll have a pretty good ballpark of what you're going to need to do it. So that is a good good to get you in that general vicinity. All right, at this point, I'm going to loosen the drag on this reel, just because I've had them get a little out of control on me before. I am going to open the level wind. I'm not going to pull the line off using the drag, because it will wear your drag out. So we're going to do this. We're going to get this ready to go. Once again, tying a uni knot to the spool. Another chunk of advice here is if you're using braid backer, you should, even if you only use 30 feet of mono, you need to have mono against your spool, because the braid will slide on the spool. It won't grip the spool. So always put a little bit of braid. I do it with my wire as well. It helps to protect that spool just a little bit from the wire. So here we go. We're going to transfer this full CB45LS with a 7 color over to this CB45LS, putting the backer against the spool, and we'll be ready to use the reel. All right, so once you get to your leader, I like to just do it by hand. I don't want to accidentally reel this in too fast and have it get out of time. All right, so now I'm going to tie a surgeon knot here. And I'm going to go around the reel seat with the drag fairly tight so it can't come loose. And that way you can't get your reel out of time. This is how we store them on the boat as well. A very important step at this point is put a label on this reel that says, I am a 7 color, I am a 5 color, whatever you are. Just take my advice. It may have happened one time where I spooled 7s and 3s, and the 3s were thought to be 7s and the 7s were thought to be 3s, and we put them out in that order, and I got to re-spool 7s and 3s right after that. So save you a little bit of line and a big headache. Make sure you, we use a label machine to put them on there. You can write with permanent marker right on the back of the reel seat if you want. You know, put a little bit of tape on there, whatever you're gonna do. Definitely a good idea to do that process. So I hope this helped you out, and check it out. I have a couple other videos there, one on setting up a reel with braid for deep fishing off a downrigger, and another one for copper. So stay tuned to Reel Outdoors. We got a ton more coming at you.